And we are good to go with Gary Cottrell. Do you want to kick us off?
Yes, hello, Eddie.
Hi, Gary.
Apologies for the lockdown haircut.
What, my one or your one?
No, very much mine. Just some injury updates, really, of the latest on your injury news.
Yeah, so we got Josh King with an ankle injury. He had a scan, nothing serious to report back. So he still hasn't trained with us, so he's going to be touch and go for the game. Philip Billing will be fit after his dead leg. I can't remember too much else.
No, that's about what I had as well. Obviously, Callum suspended. 10 yellows in 30 this season. Previous to that, just 3 yellows in 91 appearances. Is that a concern?
Personally, I don't see any big reason for that. I think you just look at the last booking he had. I thought it was incredibly harsh. Trying to go for the ball, potential goal scoring opportunity. We don't want to lose any player through suspension, especially not for 2 games at this stage of the season. So that's definitely something for us to look back on with Callum. But his miss is someone else's opportunity, and I think that's how we have to look at it.
So obviously, I'm not giving anything away when I say Bournemouth at the bottom of the form table. Can you put your finger on why at the moment?
Well, yeah, I think it's obvious. I think we haven't scored enough goals in recent games, and we haven't kept enough clean sheets, which I think definitely the goal scoring issue has become or has been an issue for us throughout the season. And I think the biggest concern is it's been very unlike us, where historically we've always scored goals and historically we've probably always conceded them. The fact the goals column has been tough to impact has definitely contributed, I think, to maybe a dip in confidence levels. I think some of the recent games have been harsh on us. We've lost by very, very small margins. If I look back before lockdown, there's some really tough defeats there when we'd played well. And then since lockdown, the 2 games have been tight, but we haven't done enough to impact their goalkeeper.
Newcastle, 39 points, mid-table. You'll be hoping that some of their players think that they're already on the beach.
Yeah, I don't see that when I watch Newcastle play. I think they've been, since lockdown, I think they've been very good, been very competitive. I've been impressed with their performances now for a consistent run in the Premier League. I think they've done very well. So we expect a very difficult game, a very motivated team to come here. But just looking at ourselves, which is all we can impact, as I said, we have to be a lot more creative as a team. We have to be full throttle to impact the game right from the start.
Just a final one from me. 3 years ago today, according to your Twitter page, that Nathan Aki became a permanent Bournemouth player. Still, obviously, gets a lot of interest from so-called bigger clubs. Does that surprise you?
Does what surprise me?
It now seems like there are more than 1 or 2 big clubs, to want a better phrase, interested in Nathan. And I guess added to that is, do you know whether the Chelsea buyback clause still exists?
I think just looking at, am I surprised and interested in Nathan? No, because he's been a model of consistency. I think he's performed very well for us now for a long, long period of time. In terms of the buyback clause, I'll leave that to the powers above me to report back on that. But I think he's been outstanding for us from the moment he signed, not just on the pitch, but off the pitch as well. So he's going to have a big, big part to play in our remaining games in our battle to stay in the Premier League.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gary. We will go to Paul Belveston of PLP now.
Hi, Eddie. Can you hear me?
I can, Paul.
Good stuff. Has Nathan been your best ever signing?
I think it's very difficult to bracket signings and give them an order of how well they've done. He's definitely been one of them, because I think when you remember back, and this is a long time ago, when Nathan came to us, he'd played left back for Watford for a season. I know historically for Chelsea, he'd played a number of positions. For us, when we signed him, we saw him as a centre back. And there was a slight time just to convert him into that position. But since he's signed, he's been absolutely brilliant. As I said, off and on the pitch, he's really contributed, and he's developing into a real leader for us. Very popular in the dressing room. Can't speak highly enough of him.
And talking about sort of slightly different positions, Joshua King had that remarkable run a couple of seasons ago, playing as a number 9, to then play with Callum. He's sort of often to the side. Is he itching for a chance to play number 9? I know you said he's touch and go, and you've got other options to replace Callum, but have you seen a real hunger from him to have another go as the main striker?
I will just question that to a slight point. So when Joshua scored season, I don't know whether he scored 16, 17 goals, he was playing with different partners, but Benik Afobe would probably have been his most consistent partner during that period, and Bennett was an out-and-out number 9. So he was playing the same position that he does when he does play with Callum, albeit with a different player who's got different attributes. So Callum and Josh have always performed, for me, a good partnership when they've played together. Josh, I think if you sat him down here and asked him, he would say he wants to be considered a centre forward and the focal point of the attack. He's played wide for us, which he's done historically, and he's played wide very well. So I think he's just a very good attacking player who can play a number of positions. But certainly we're looking to players like him, Dominic Solanke, Sam Surridge, to fill the void that Callum's going to leave for the next 2 games.
I know it's very different in training, but are you seeing all the creativity and all the top quality finishing that you're after on a match day in training every day?
I think we have trained very well for a long period of time. I don't think those training performances have quite been linked to the games this season. I think we've fallen short of the standards that we would expect at times. I think there's a whole host of reasons for that. It's not the time to go into that now. From my perspective, it's just to look to the next games and see what we can deliver. I think we know the expectation is there upon the players that we have to create as a team, and that's the only way we're going to do it. It's not going to be down to 1 or 2 individuals. For our strikers to get chances, the team around them has to perform well, and it's the same from a defensive perspective. In order to keep clean sheets, the team around the back 4 has to perform well.
I see that Newcastle have had the lowest possession of any team for many, many years in the Premier League. Has it been a particular issue for your team recently when teams have sat back and aren't bothered about having the ball, but aren't so keen on having the majority of possession?
To be honest, you could look at it and say yes, but I think it's in most phases. I don't think we've hit the heights that we know we can. So instead of focusing on one specific type of play where we've found it difficult, I think from our side it's every aspect of our game has to improve. I feel we've prepared well for this game. I think we've hammered home certain points with the players that we want to improve and work on. We've done that. But really, it's difficult for me to add too much to what I've already said in previous weeks. We just have to deliver on the day. I back the players to do that. I know we have the quality to do it. But talking really is cheap in this moment.
And how is it affecting you? You've been in a relegation battle every season, essentially. That's been the target to survive, to stay in the Premier League. You've never been quite in this position before, though, and I wonder how that's affecting your sleep, your decision making. Are you noticing an effect on yourself?
No, my sleep is very good. It has to be, because your brain has to be very sharp. You have to keep yourself in really good physical condition. So I'm very well. I'm fully functioning. I am hurting from this situation. I'm not going to lie. It's painful. It's consuming me, but I'm using all of those emotions to help direct the team in the way that we need to go. There's no part of me that's feeling sorry for myself or despondent. It's a motivated, fully energized, fully focused manager that the players are getting to get results and to achieve our objectives.
It's good to hear. Good luck, mate.
Thank you.
Thanks, Belvis. James Savundra from TalkSport.
Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
Eddie, how do you see the picture at the bottom of the table? Because from the outside, it feels like not a huge amount has changed following the first 2 or 3 games back.
It's very tight. It's difficult to comment on the situation in the respect that, as I said earlier, it's just words. We have to act. We have to take control of our situation and of our destiny and get results. It's the only thing. We can't rely on other teams. We can't look at other fixtures. That's all a waste of energy and a waste of time. We just have to play the game and enjoy the challenge and enjoy the position we're in, as bizarre as that sounds, and see it as a real opportunity to let everybody know that we're still determined to be in this division next season.
Some Bournemouth fans think tomorrow night's game is the most important game Bournemouth have played in the last 5 years. Is that something you go along with?
It's one of them, I think. Then I'd say the same about the next 7 are all going to be the same. And this is where it's dangerous, because people can build certain games up to be bigger than others. I believe we can win every game that we've got between now and the end of the season. The only way we can do that is if we perform at our very best levels. No game is a write-off, in my opinion. But certainly we have to start winning and performing very quickly.
You're speaking to the players and working with them on a day-to-day basis. When you look at them in the eyes, do you still think they have that belief that the squad can get out of this situation?
Yeah, I do think they have the belief. I do think one win would certainly go a long way to helping shape that. I think you need to see to believe sometimes. And I think that we're in the position where we need to see ourselves performing, and that's collectively, that's everybody, 1 to 11. And I don't think we've had that regularly enough for our liking. I think we've been performing in sort of 4s and 5s, and it's not enough at this level. So I think that's the challenge that the players need to embrace.
Callum Wilson misses the next 2 games. How much of an opportunity does this present for Dominic Solanke? Because it's not been easy since he joined Bournemouth, but he's got 2 matches now where the pressure's on him and he's got an opportunity to deliver.
Yeah, the whole team have got an opportunity to deliver in the absence of Callum. One person's disappointment is always an opportunity for another player. And so many times throughout history, you've seen that be a change for someone or a team. And that's, again, how we have to look at these challenges that we face. Perceived disappointments, perceived negatives, for me, can always be positives. And that's where we have to act to change those things.
And just finally from me, Ryan Fraser officially leaves the club today. How do you reflect on how the club dealt with the situation? Can you take comfort in the fact that you did all you could for him to stay up until the end of this actual season and beyond?
Yeah, I've said all I need to say on Ryan Fraser's situation. He's a player that we loved working with. His journey and time with us overall, when you look at it, was a hugely successful one. And we wish him well in his next adventure.
Thanks, Eddie.
Thank you.
Thanks, James. And we'll go to Ed Elliott from PA.
Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
It's been touched on already about the fact that most of the teams near the bottom have not really been picking up points. Is that sort of the biggest consolation you can take at the moment from the start you've made since the restart?
Yeah, we're still in there with a great opportunity. Nothing has, from a league position perspective, nothing really has changed. The challenge remains the same, but with 2 less games. What we can't do is be in this situation in another 2 games' time where we're still looking around, waiting for other teams to make mistakes. We've got to take the gauntlet ourselves and change our situation ourselves. And that's in terms of everything, in terms of creating chances, scoring goals, and ultimately winning games.
You've already said that you think you can win all of your remaining games, but given that after Newcastle, the next 4 fixtures against top 6 teams, is this a must-win game?
We can't look at it that way, in my opinion. I don't think we can look at groups of games ahead of us. We just have to look at the next one. When I say we can win our next 7 games, that's my mindset. I always believe we can. No one should tell us differently. And the only game in our mindset right now is Newcastle. Everything else will take care of itself beyond that. But we need to give everything to win this game.
And just finally, going back to Dom, personally, when you're speaking on the training ground in and around the club, does he seem like he feels like he still has something to prove, given that his career at Bournemouth's not really taken off just yet?
I'm sure Dom, from his side, is very keen to show everybody his talents and how good he is on a consistent basis. I think we see it close at hand. We see him train every day. He's on a journey of improvement and developing himself at this moment in time. But I've been very pleased with how he's conducted himself, how he's knuckled down, and how he's worked behind the scenes. My wish is that he just goes out and plays his game and shows his talents in his own unique way. And because he's a really, really strong team player, he's got that mindset that he wants to help the team play better. If he does all those things, I'll be happy.
So just as a follow-up to that, why do you think he hasn't scored in the Premier League yet? What's the main reason for that? I
think there'll be lots of different reasons behind that, but that's not my focus right now. My focus is on helping Dom give his best performance in this game. I think he's been hugely unlucky for a start. I think for me, his overall game is improving, and I think for any player, I think when you're a young player, especially when you're on the path of improvement, then you're in the right direction, and you'll see the benefits at a later date.
Thank you. Best of luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ed. So that's the end of the broadcast section. We'll move on to the embargoed section with a 10:30 p.m. embargo tonight, and we will start